Paul Ben-Haim was born as Paul Frankenburger, in fact, in 1897 to a secular Jewish family in Munich. He studied in Munich in, I think, a quite conservative atmosphere. You know, Richard Strauss was really the composer in Munich at the time. This school of thought was prevailing also as Ben-Haim was studying composition. His first occupation was an opera conductor. He kind of went up the ranks in Augsburg when he ended up being a Kapellmeister.
Ben-Haim was a fantastic orchestrator. You could feel that he was a conductor. So he really knew the orchestra, all the instruments. It's very well written, and it just works how it is. You don't need to change dynamics or something, because he really knew what will work, if the violin will be heard or not. So you really can feel his years as an opera conductor.
So he had very vast repertoire, and he started getting noticed also as a composer. But then in 1933, the Nazis came to power in Germany, and his job as Kapellmeister was discontinued. So very practically, he said, okay, I'm going to see what things are like in the British Mandate of Palestine. That was another place where Jews were going to at the time, so he got the tourist visa. On the boat, on the way there, he met a violinist. The violinist asked him, would you like to play with me also in the British Mandate of Palestine? Would we get there? And Ben-Haim said, well, I guess Frankenburger said, with pleasure, but you know, I'm on a tourist visa, you know. Obviously, I don't want anyone to know that I'm playing anything. But then the two came to the violinist's manager, and he said, well, this is very simple. We'll just find a different name for you. So, Paul Frankenburger, what's your father's name? His name is Heinrich. Well, okay, in Hebrew, this would be Chaim. So, you're son of Chaim. When he finally made his final move a few months later to the British Mandate of Palestine, that's where he changed, and he started signing his compositions also as Paul Ben-Haim. It's really only here, so maybe I'm not going to do such a huge deal. So I grew up in Tel Aviv, in Israel, to a musical family. You know, one of the reasons I chose the violin was that my parents actually did not play the violin. So after a year or so, they couldn't tell me what to do. So, which proved actually quite clever. We had at home a copy of that biography of Ben-Haim by Joash Hirschberg. First, obviously, I loved the music. I fell in love with it. I can tell you, actually, playing a specific piece. It's a piece called Prelude for String Quartet. Also, one of the late Ben-Haim ones. I played it when I was at the Jerusalem Academy, and I absolutely loved it. And that's how I fell in love with its music. Yeah. I really think a lot of what the CD is about, and what I hope would come across when people listen to it, beginning to end, is really the evolution of style. My theory, and also in the book by Hirschberg, which is extremely valuable in looking at Ben-Haim's music. There are a few, you know, he puts out a few theses or ideas why his music went the direction that it went. So, and one of them is that, you know, together with changing of the name, he really wanted to depart from what was Europe, to create something new. Ben-Haim was a composer in the footsteps of Mahler. He is a composer who listens to what's around him and it finds its way into his music. So if Mahler, he would walk in Vienna, he would hear sorts of bands playing folk music, it would get into his symphonies. And with Ben-Haim it's the same, but he would hear in cafes in Jaffa, he would hear very different tunes. So they found their way into his music. The three etudes for solo violin were written really at the very end of Ben-Haim's life. What I think was very helpful for us when we recorded the orchestral pieces, he notates his music in terms of performance instructions very, very carefully. But then the etudes, there is very little, almost nothing. I think it's also because he was really very sick at the time and just didn't have the energy to write. So they pose a little bit of a different challenge than really the rest of the program. You have to come up yourself with their interpretation, and they've never been recorded. So I think somehow they summarize a little bit the journey that he has been through. With my ancestry, I have 1/4, my grandmother from my mother's side, who is Sephardic, and was actually very proud of that part of her heritage. She and her family actually spoke that language, Ladino, which I don't know if anyone still speaks, Judeo-Spanish. For me to play the Berceuse and the third song without words, it's in a way, it's also connecting with that part of my ancestry as well.
It's a nice take. Come and listen.
Okay, great. Yeah.